Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monday. It is 11:18 in the morning, and I have not started this vlog as of yet because I just forgot that I needed to start the vlog. So, today I have obviously work. I'm working also on trying to get my vlog out before noon today, but it's taking a long time to process because last week's vlog was about an hour and a half long after I had gone through and edited everything. So, I'm going to try to keep this one a little shorter, but we'll see how things go because I like to talk. It's nothing new. And if it's more than, an hour, so be it. But hopefully that'll finish processing here soon because it's been processing for probably about maybe an hour and a half. But anyway, if it's not out completely at noon, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I just like to try to schedule my stuff out for at noon, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But I've already, though, got my daily tarot and oracle read and runestone reads out on TikTok and Instagram, which is great. Also, I need to publish my TikTok for the day around noon as well. Still have to do that, as well as my Instagram post for today, which I think should be my Orillium TBR one, along with posting about the vlog. So technically I have 2 posts out today, but it is what it is. And then today I need to do some catch up because, once I can grab my book, last night I did not manage to get through any of the final Strife because by the time I finally finished with editing stuff last night, it was about 9:30. I was exhausted, especially having had moved my sister's stuff yesterday. I feel fine today. My back is a little tight in some places, but it's not like that bad. I just really need to stretch today. So I feel fine, but I'm going to be starting the final Strife on my lunch break. I basically need to get to page 260 today, which is going to be interesting. I don't know if I'm going to get to that tonight, but I'm playing a little bit of catch up, which it's fine. It happens. I did say to Robert tonight that I did want to really focus on reading, and he wants to watch a movie with me, but I think we'll watch a movie during dinner tonight, and after that I'll spend the rest of the evening working on reading and stuff, which will be more than okay with me. I think I can get through probably about, I don't know, maybe 50 pages or so today during my lunch break, around there, maybe 40-50 pages, depending on how long it takes me to take Oscar outside and get my lunch and stuff finished up, take care of the dishes, all that good stuff. So I think that this week it's going to be the final Strife, My Dearest, Darkest, which is the royally booked book club pick for this month with Princess at Castle Library. And then, what date is this week end on? The 14th. So by the 14th, I'll also then have started Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson, which is the Brandon Sanderson read-along book for this month. My desk is actually supposed to get here sometime between Wednesday and next Monday. I'm hoping it's going to be sooner rather than later so that I can show you guys what that new space is going to look like. But if at the very least it comes Monday next week, then it'll go in next week's vlog. But the final Strife is going to be completing, though, my Elemental Studies class. This will be the final book I need to read for Elemental Studies. That's the only thing it's really counting for, though. And then my read of My Dearest, Darkest is going to complete the first part of my Restoration class for Orillium, as well as, like I said, being part of the Royally Booked Book Club book. And it is not counting for anything else that looks like past that. And then Warbreaker is going to be getting started with completing the second and final part of my Restoration class, is also the Brandon Sanderson book as well, and is going to be counting for Witch-a-thon for, it looks like, 5 of the prompts on the bingo board, which are a TBR vet, fantasy, book that has gods or goddesses involved, is inspired by my star sign, and is a standalone. Because currently where it sits in the Cosmere, it is a standalone. There is another book, I think, sometime in the future going to be coming out, but as it is now, it is a standalone, so that counts. And then that is all that counts for. It is not counting for Wheel of D20 or anything else right now. Okay guys, so it's about 12:45. I'm getting ready to end my lunch here soon, but I wanted to come on and quickly talk to you about the prologue of the final Strife because that's all I could get to. I had a lot of stuff happen all at once. I sold a book on Pango Books, so I had to get that out to the mail before the mail carrier gets here. Because I already had one book that was supposed to be picked up today, but now I have 2 packages that are going out, which is great. But then I had to also took care of Oscar. I had to go grab something for my husband for him to pick up when he swings by the house here for a second. And I just didn't have as much time to read as I had wanted to. So I got to the prologue, which was like the first 8 pages, and basically all I can say is that it starts off really interesting. I really like the way they started this story up, because essentially you are watching all these kids gathered around this storyteller that's called a griot. He is kind of like some kind of a storyteller of sorts, or something along those lines. And anyway, he starts to tell them this story about how there were these people that were called the Sandstorm, some kind of group basically, and how the Sandstorm had 18 years ago been swapping babies. So they would basically take a baby from their lot and swap it in with somebody else. Essentially, he's just telling these kids the story, and then he goes off into the darkness kind of thing. Like, there's not really much that happens in it, but I'm curious as to what this is then going to entail, because it seems like this is going to be something where it's not necessarily like a Prince and the Pauper situation of any kind, or it's not going to be something where it's like, you know, switched at birth kind of thing. It's more going to be, I think, of some kind of a revenge plot from within. It was the start of a revolution of sorts. So I don't know how that's going to play in. I don't know if any of our main characters we're supposed to meet in this are going to be one of those babies or what. So I don't know. And also right now I'm just like really amped. I think that I have been drinking too much caffeine. Like, I grabbed this after having my cup of coffee because I was still really tired, but I don't think that was the best decision for today, because all of a sudden I'm like really anxious and irritated and I need to chill out. So I think I'm gonna just finish what I have of this. I don't have much of it left, and then I'm gonna go drink some water and throw a liquid IV in it so that I can get hydrated and stuff like that. So I just took a little bit of a break here during my work day to sit and read. I did not get to my goal last night that I wanted to, so I am very much behind. I've only just really got to the point I wanted to get to on Sunday, I think, which is page 130 basically. What I can say is that I am enjoying this to an extent, but it is, I think, in a lot of ways very slow. And the reason being is because there's a lot of setup that needs to be done before we get to kind of like really the big moment where things start to take off. So keeping that in mind, this is still a really interesting world. This is all centered around this idea of there being kind of this caste system of sorts, where obviously you have the Embers, who are the red-blooded people at the top. They are the wealthy, they are the royalty, they are the people that are in control of this land. Below them you have basically what are called dusters. They are basically, and also ghostings to an extent. They have basically the working class, and the ghostings are kind of the poverty, but the type of blood they have also denotes a certain kind of hierarchy. So there's transparent blood, which are typically from the ghostings, meaning that, you know, there's no color to them, and they are looked at a little bit more favorably than somebody who is blue-blooded, like the dusters. The blue-blooded people are considered to be kind of more of the lesser than people. They're looked at more poorly than even the ghostings are. But in terms of economic standing, the dusters are the ones that are more of the working class, whereas ghostings are basically the impoverished people. Now, this story follows 3 different characters, 2 of which are more so the main ones, and the third one is kind of there, but so far we haven't seen a ton about her, but that character has very specific intentions as well. So we have our main character, who I would say is Saara. Saara is a character that we kind of learn about in the prologue, where I talked about how there was a story that was told where there were 12 babies that were embers, or red-blooded individuals, that were stolen and then replaced with dusters, or the blue-blooded individuals. And they were stolen as a way to then be put into the competition later on for wardens and stuff like that I'll get into in a minute. But basically, they were stolen away by the Dusters in a specific team called the Sandstorm, which were a revolutionary group that wanted to then place these kind of, in a sense, corrupted children onto the thrones to then change the way society is. It basically was like they stole these kids at a young enough age where they wouldn't really remember them living under the Ember rule, and kind of converting them to their thoughts, their beliefs, and train them to then go and take over the throne as still an Ember, but under the basic tutelage of the Dusters and the Sandstorm. So, like, they would basically be part of the enemy, but they weren't the enemy because they've been trained to not think that enemy's way. So part of the thing with this is that I'm going to have to talk a little bit about some spoilery content, because it's stuff that you learn in the first, 100 pages, but if I don't talk about it, then I can't really say too much more about what the actual plot of the story is. So you find out that Saara is essentially one of the stolen children that were taken from the Ember households, and, basically the Sandstorm had raised. And Saara was the daughter of the Warden of Strength. So in this world, there's 4 different types of wardens that basically hold different placements in this world. There's Warden of Truth, the Warden of Duty, the Warden of Knowledge, and the Warden of Strength. And the Aktabar, like I mentioned before, it's this competition where you have people who are becoming masters of this. They fight with other people for this spot to be the warden. And when the Aktabar finishes, there's what's called the Day of Ascent, where those people that are then named the disciples go up this 500-step stairway, and they meet with the current wardens, the current people in power, and they learn from them for 10 years or so. And then there is what's called the Day of Descent, where the old ones abdicate their thrones and give those over to their disciples for some time. But Saara is basically trying to infiltrate this Aktabar. That is part of what the Sandstorm had been trying to do with stealing all these kids, was that they were looking to train these kids in all these areas, put them in the Aktabar, and basically infiltrate the Warden system so that they could basically start a revolution and cause the Embers to fall, while using Ember children that were then converted to more of the Duster and the Sandstorm mindset. And so Saara has been taught, this is what she's supposed to do, but after losing a lot of her family 6 years prior, she no longer feels that that's her purpose, all these things. And then she ends up infiltrating the Ember household of the woman that is her mother, who, like I said, is the Warden of Strength. And the young girl that ended up taking Saara's place is aware that she is not the Warden's actual daughter. It is very clear that there is a strained relationship between the two of them, because the Warden knows that her actual daughter was taken away from her, but in order to keep up appearances, she kind of played along with the fact that this was supposed to be her daughter, but she disdains her because she knows she's not her daughter. Now, that daughter's name is Anor, and Anor is basically trying to prove herself to her mother and prove herself to, be as powerful as the rest of them, even though she knows she has Duster blood. And so when Saara infiltrates Anor's living space, Anor traps her and says, okay, I will help you with your drug addiction. I'll help you with getting basically through a rehabilitation sense, and I won't kill you, but you have to teach me how to fight. You have to teach me what I need to do in the Aktabar, because I've signed up for the Aktabar and it's now closed, so you don't even have a chance to sign up for it, and I need to prove to my mother that this is what I'm capable of doing. And so Saara then agrees to that. There's a third character named Hassa, who is a trans disabled individual. It's a ghosting, and all of the ghostings have their tongues removed and their hands also removed, so they are all amputees, and they have a kind of sign language of a sense that they use to communicate with others and with each other. And Hassa is, I think, a part of some underground ring, some underground rebellion team, I would assume. That's kind of the thing that's been looked at, possibly. She is more of an outsider, and it is interesting to see that, like, she's kind of trying to find things out as she goes. She knows that Scylla is one of the stolen. She knows, I think, that Anor is the baby that was replaced when Scylla was taken. And I feel like Hassa, even though she hasn't really had too much of a hand in things that have gone on recently in this book, she's going to play a bigger role later on. But I really like the idea of this. It is basically about starting a rebellion, starting an uprising by infiltrating the system that there is, but it's not going according to plan. And so Scylla is having to kind of rely on this other person to do what she needs her to do by teaching her how to fight. Like I said, I think that this is a little slow. I also think that the entire thought of the Octobar is not very clear. I don't understand 100% everything that's going on, but I'm only just now getting into part 2. So I'm thinking that the rest of the book, when we start going through the actual Octobar that Anor is going to be participating in, it is going to become clearer and clearer how things are going to go. And like I said, this entire first part was really setting up what the real plot of the story is, which is the fact that Scylla is secretly helping Anor get through the Octobar, and I think Scylla is going to then see if she can try to get Anor to do what Scylla was meant to do originally in the Octobar. Along with that, we also learn that Scylla has a, I believe, friend. I think he kind of almost was a love interest at one point for Scylla, who she thought was dead for 6 years, come back because he is going to be participating in the Octobar, and there's going to be some tension involved with that because of the fact that Scylla is now also Anor's chambermaid. Part of the deal that she struck with Anor was that she was going to act as a servant of Anor's so that Anor could keep Scylla close without very many questions in the Ember household that she is in. How everybody else, when they read this, felt about it, because I wasn't a part of the live show for this. I skipped out on that only because I hadn't even read the book, and I was also out of town when the live show was going on, so I couldn't watch it. But I feel like personally, I'm not enjoying it as much as I want to, because I'm just very confused. I'm still trying to piece everything together, but the overall plot is starting to pick up, which I am very excited for. So I will be continuing this, and I'm going to finish it. Don't know right now if it's going to be a 5 out of 5 stars. That could, you know, obviously change the further I get into it, but the way that the story has been set up is not super clear. It does feel very disjointed in a lot of ways, and I feel that a lot of this setup was a little confusing because of the fact that, you know, we're playing with not only 3 different characters, but characters that are kind of connected and kind of not, and you can't always 100% tell who is able to do what, who exactly is able to do this thing, that thing, the other, what exactly the Octobar is. There's not a lot of information brought up about it, even though it's talked about a lot. There's a lot of things in the first part in particular that I'm very confused on, but again, are things that could be developed further the further we get into what actually is the Octobar, and a lot more questions can be answered. So I'm still holding out hope. I'm not giving any kind of rating as of yet. I'm just a little uncertain of what exactly my thoughts are, because at this point I'm just a little confused about some things. But I am hoping this is going to be at least a 4-star for me, because I would really hate for this to be something that I'm not going to enjoy, because I've heard so many good things about it. And once I finish this, I am going to be watching the replay of the live show that was done so I can see what everybody else's opinions are, because hey guys, so it's just after 3:30 in the afternoon on Wednesday. I did not really feel well at all yesterday. I just felt so crummy. I was exhausted and my stomach was in a lot of pain. I don't know what it was. It was just a really bad day yesterday. And today has been a better day. I just haven't really been in the mood to film or read. I did quite a bit of reading last night, but I still have not quite reached my goal for today. I do have my goal for today marked right here. I'm basically supposed to be nearing the end of this and finishing this up tomorrow, but currently I'm on page 289 and need to read like 230 almost pages to get to page 516, and I haven't picked this up at all today because I just have not been in the mood, but I'm well into, I think it's part 3 of this, if I'm not mistaken. We've basically already gone through the first 2 stages of the Octobar, which is the competition that is placed in the story, and things are getting to be very interesting. So one of the most interesting aspects is the fact that I guess at this point in the story, Scylla knows that she obviously is Yuka's daughter. Yuka, the woman that is, you know, the Warden of Strength, who is Anor's mother, but Anor has not made the connection that Scylla is her daughter, which you would think, with most mother-daughter relationships, I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience because I look very similar to my mother, you would think that there would be some kind of a resemblance between Yuka and Scylla. However, at the same time, they're not really ever in the same room together kind of thing. Like, you don't really see them in the same space. There's also this interesting kind of thing going on with Scylla, though, where she's almost questioning some of the things that she was taught growing up, in the sense that she finds out somebody from her past comes back that she thought was dead, and they say to her that the sandstorm, which supposedly had been completely wiped out 6 years before, is actually still around, but they're very secretive, and they don't trust Scylla based on things that had happened when a lot of people were killed in their group 6 years prior. Apparently, she had something to do with that. She either went against orders or something like that. And so her friends and family being dead is basically her fault. And so the Sandstorm now are like, well, if you want to be in our good graces and you want us to trust you and to do this job, you know, you need to find these journals that basically are the journals that all the wardens use. Like, in this world, every warden, and I think even disciple for that matter, who are the people that get chosen in the Octobar for each of the areas, they have a set of journals that they have to write in every day, things about their thoughts, the things that they do, stuff like that, because it's very possible that things that, you know, they see and do and everything, they will hopefully get the Sandstorm to be able to figure out how to infiltrate them, take them over, kind of like expose them in some capacity if that's possible. And unfortunately, though, those are locked away, and so Scylla's going to have to figure out how to do that, and she's teaming up with Anor, who also wants to find out more about what's really going on, because Anor's realized that the history of the entire world, which is the Warden's Empire, the entire, it even says here, the northern region in the end paper map, there is very likely more to this world than meets the eye. Everyone in this world has been told that everything was burned down in the final burning, and essentially there was nothing else there. They moved to this place that's where everybody's been for the last several hundred years. And apparently what Scylla and Anor have found in terms of a map that Scylla had found at the very beginning of the story that looks to have some kind of smudging of a possible other land, and what Anor has found in studying things in the library about the past and basically piecing things together, they're realizing that it's very possible that the entire world has been lied to, their entire community has been lied to, and that there is more land out there somewhere that they either came from or that is yet to be explored. And because they've all been told that the Marian Sea that borders the entire region is dangerous, that they shouldn't go out there, there's monsters in the water, and it's not safe. And so then that begs the question of what did exactly happen hundreds of years before? Why is it that everybody was moved to this place that became the Empire? And why is it that they're not able to go out? Is it because there actually is something big, bad, and dangerous out there? Or is it more of a center of control that these people wanted to have complete control over everybody. And that is why there's been so much upcoming dissent from the various groups, because they're tired of being told what to do and all these things. Like there's so much more than meets the eye, because this story plays on the idea that this is very much a overthrowing, a revolution of sorts of, you know, the working and poorer classes overthrowing the rich and the powerful and taking it over. But it appears that there could also be an underlying story that we'll probably go into in the other 2 books in this series, since this isn't a trilogy in the works, that they're going to find out more things about the overall world. They might be traveling to new places in future books. They may, you know, find out more information about what exactly did happen during the final burning, who started it, what caused it, those kinds of things. So this is a very confusing story in some capacity, because of the fact that, like, you're getting literal bits and pieces of things as you go, and so you can't fully put the pieces together. And I think that that is kind of take it or leave it. Like, you take it or leave it as a reader, whether or not you're fine with not having all of the puzzle pieces be put together right away. It's something that you kind of have to pick up the breadcrumb trails as they go. I think that honestly, this is gonna be something like a 4-star. I think it ultimately is going to depend on how exactly the pieces come together and how much more of the Octobar are we going to see in this, because I have a feeling it is entirely possible something could happen to disrupt the Octobar and either cause it to be completely canceled, or we won't see all of it at the very least in this one and see more of it going into maybe book 2. But I don't know whether that's going to be the case or not. I hope a lot of that made sense to you. I have a lot of questions regarding this, and like I said, I will be watching the live show to hear everybody else's thoughts on this, because I have a feeling that I'm not the only one that would be confused by this to some degree, but I am enjoying it a lot. I really do like Saara's writing. I think that it is very beautiful, and I like how I am kind of left on my toes with this, because I don't know what to expect coming in. I don't know what to expect to come up within this world. I don't know what to expect in terms of things that are going to come up with Hassa. Like, Hassa hasn't had as much of a perspective of this. I think that tonight I'm going to spend a lot of time doing some reading sprints, because I haven't read anything today, and I don't really want to read anything right now, but I feel like I want to maybe after I finish work, so I can just kind of like decompress. So I'm going to try to get to my reading goal for tonight, read like 230 pages by the end of the night. Like I said, I'm going to basically be getting to the point where I'm going to be almost done with this book tonight, and then hopefully finishing it up tomorrow. So I think I'll hold off on any final thoughts of this until I've finished the book and also then watched the live show that Brandy did. So that'll give me some time to kind of just decompress, not do too much. And then tomorrow, if I can get all that stuff done, I will then start up my next book, which will be My Dearest, Darkest by Kayla Cottingham. This is the Royally Booked Book Club book for August, and this is going to be a quick read. It's like 320 pages. Could get this done like a couple of days, really, and I'll just be glad to get through something really quick, considering that the final Strife feels like it's taking me longer than it should, but it's not, because I'm going with my reading schedule, but because it's a chunky fantasy compared to like a young adult thriller, it's like the page counts are a little heavier with a fantasy as opposed to a contemporary story. So first of all, if you hear anything in the background, my husband is watching something while laying in bed, because he went to bed early and I finished The Final Strife by Saara El-Arifi, and I fucking loved this. Oh my god. So this ended up being a 5 out of 5 stars for me. And the biggest thing was I just felt like basically the last few times I have been updating, it was right before stuff was going to be, you know, brought in. Like, I was basically updating you guys with theories and things that I was thinking about, questions I had, that literally if I was to have waited the next like 30 pages, I would have seen those things come up. So I was pretty impressed. Taking my glasses off because they are smudged to all hell, and it is hurting my eyes to look at them when they're all smudged like that. But so I can't really say a lot about what goes on in this anymore, because I've already said so much about it and I don't want to spoil this for anybody, but I will say This had a lot of amazing twists. The very end threw me for a complete fucking loop because of something that was revealed about a character that I didn't know we were going to know anything about. This edition that I also have, which I don't think I got from Barnes & Noble or anything. I think I just bought this from my local bookseller. And anyway, this edition, though, that is from Del Rey, has an additional short story prequel to the final Strife. It basically has a short story involving a character that we learn about very well by the name of Lute. And I'm not going to say who he is or what he's involved with because of the fact that that's going to spoil a lot. But we do get basically part of his backstory in the short story at the very end of this. It's about 20-ish pages basically. And it doesn't really reveal anything new other than exactly like how he is the way he is in a sense. So, and I again can't say anything because it's going to spoil stuff, but I'm immensely surprised with how much I enjoyed this. And I started to think about some of the themes that were brought up about in this, especially when it came to a lot of the questions that I had earlier about the fact that they were finding out that there was possibly this other world, this other part of the world that they were not aware of. And all I will say, because again, I don't want to spoil anything, all I will say is it's got Mayflower vibes. I really like the way that this ended because it ended kind of open, but you can see that there's a lot of possibilities for what's going to happen in book 2. I did really enjoy, though, how the main story of Anor really wraps up in this one. We get to see a ending to what she was going through. We don't really get to see an ending to Hassa, because Hassa seems to basically, over the course of this, have kind of a background role, which I actually grew to appreciate a lot more over the course of time, because you learn more about her group of people and what they're doing and what she specifically is doing over the course of this, which I think was something that I was lacking toward the beginning of this, and I definitely feel like that has been a resolved issue in terms of my thoughts on this. But I think that she's going to continue to be more of a background character going forward into the next books. And then what happens to Scylla by the end of this, I also was really impressed with. Because for one, I wasn't expecting to learn as much about her as I did. And I think that going forward, there's a lot of unknown. Like, she's the character that we really see the unknown factor in. Like, we don't know what to expect of her journey going forward. We don't know what exactly she's going to be getting into. But that is where I think that there's a lot of potential. It's very late at night, and I was planning on watching the replay of the live show for this from Brandy from Books Brandy Shanae's channel. I'm going to reserve that for tomorrow. I'm going to wait until tomorrow morning to watch that while I work because it's very late at night. I am very tired. But I did want to finally say I completed this. I'm so happy. I finally got another book done. This is, I think, the first book I've finished this week because this one took me quite some time and was planned on taking some time because of how chunky it is. But I just feel like I was slogging through it for a while because I was really trying to get used to the world. And I guess in terms of my rating, I can explain because I'm sure a lot of people would wonder, well, if I was struggling so much in the beginning, why did I give it a 5-star? And I think the reason I was struggling so much in the beginning wasn't anything to do with the book at all. It was the format in which I read it. I realized over the course of reading this that I haven't read a physical book by itself in a very long time. And I think that, if anything, was like my big issue because I'm so used to reading something physically through the actual, physical copy or an ebook and listening to the audio as well. Or if I don't have a copy of the book, I listen to the audio. Like, I just think that that's kind of been the way I've been consuming books recently, that reading something purely as an ebook or as a physical book was a little jarring for me. But I think that that was the only thing that really kept me from enjoying the book at first. And again, I will say, for those of you that are not a huge fan of like slow building worlds, this might be something you might not enjoy because of the fact that it is a very slow building process in terms of learning about the world. It is very much a lot of the information we learn about this world, the characters are learning as they go. So I know a lot of people when it comes to fantasy are not fans of that. I don't mind it so much. I think if it's done properly and it doesn't feel like everything is being info dumped at once. There definitely were a couple parts at the end where it was a little more info dumpy than I think that most people would be used to or comfortable with, but I personally thought they were done really well. I think honestly, for this especially being a debut book, a debut trilogy by an author, this was absolutely amazing. I am very impressed with what Saara has been able to do. And I am so excited for the other two books. Like, I need to have book 2 like immediately. This is definitely going to be a series I'm going to keep my eye on because I enjoyed this immensely. And I'm so happy I did because I know a lot of people have been really enjoying this. And I wanted to be in that camp, and I was really scared at first when I was having a lot of my questions and not sure kind of feelings that I wasn't going to like this as much. But I'm glad I stuck with it. I'm glad that I got used to reading it physically because by about the middle part of the book, I was sold, I was sunk in. And then the second half of this, I think, just took this book to a whole new level. The things that were revealed, the things that we learned about this world, and specifically about certain characters, Saara had me hook, line, and sinker. I'm gonna like constantly be looking out for stuff about what she's writing, and in this series in particular too, because it was absolutely amazing. I cannot wait for the second book to come out, which is not gonna be for a long time because this one just came out not that long ago. And now I'm gonna have to wait probably at least a year for book 2. And I'm just like, ugh. But I do think this is something I will reread. And I've been finding a lot more recently that there are a lot more books that I'm enjoying that I would like to reread. And that has not happened in a long time. It has been quite some time since I found books that I genuinely, by the time I finish them, want to already go back and restart. The last one that I was talking about this was Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. But either way, love this. 5 out of 5 stars. This, for my stuff, completed my final prompt I needed to complete for elemental studies, so I finally finished my elemental studies class, and I have 3 more books I need to read for Orillium and 2 classes to finish, which I'm so excited for. And then, like I said, this was the book that Brandy's book club had picked for July, and I missed out on the live show and everything, but I'm so glad I finished it. But I'm going to be heading to bed here soon, but I did want to update you guys again on what I will be reading next, which is going to be My Dearest, Darkest by Kayla Cottingham. This is apparently a sapphic horror, which I did not realize. It's actually a part of the title, My Dearest, Darkest, a sapphic horror. Like, that's the title. But this is the royally booked book club pick for August, and is also going to be counting for my first part of my restoration class. I only need to complete 2 books for that class, but that's the first one I need to complete. I'm supposed to get through a good chunk of it today, but I don't think that's going to happen. Tomorrow, though, is the beginning of the Brandon Sanderson 24-hour read-along, and I would like to participate in it, but I had already really kind of planned I wasn't going to be necessarily reading the entire book in 24 hours because of the fact that I'm doing about 126 pages every day to stay on top of my reading schedule. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to read as much as I can of My Dearest, Darkest before noon tomorrow, and then basically I'll be swapping the time that I read Warbreaker for My Dearest, Darkest by basically spending the rest of the day Friday working on Warbreaker, getting myself to the goal that I need to get to by the end of the day Saturday, and then when I finish that, probably by Saturday or so, I will then pick up My Dearest, Darkest again. Like, we're gonna basically swap for a hot minute the books I'm reading, which is fine, not a big deal, I can manage that. It's not gonna make my head go too crazy, and I don't have to change my, reading schedule really that much at all, so it will be fine. But I think that for right now, that's all I needed to say. I'm going to quickly update my reading journal, though, with my readings and stuff, just because I need to quickly, while I'm just talking to you, fill out my stars. But I think that My Dearest, Darkest, I'm going to probably like. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy so much, because when it comes to YA contemporary anything, it's very hit or miss for me. So I've already DNF'd the last 2 books for the Royally Booked Book Club. I don't want to DNF another one. It wasn't that they weren't good, but they definitely did not keep the interest that I wanted, and they did not really hit the way I wanted them to, and I didn't see the point in continuing with them because I don't want to read stuff I'm not enjoying, even if it's for a book club. So I just completely decided to stop reading the 2 of them because they weren't that great for me personally. Hey guys, happy Friday. It is 11:40 in the morning right now. I'll be going on my lunch break here really soon, but I just finished up a short break reading the first 3 chapters of My Dearest Darkest. Now, I read like basically the 3rd chapter here during this short break, but wow, already this is like super creepy. The first chapter like immediately gave me the horror vibes, the paranormal stuff I'm looking for. It's very unnerving, and very quickly things get very intense and there's a mystery involved. We have a couple perspectives within this. First, we have I think is more the main character, Finch. She is a transfer student to this school called Orillum, which is basically a boarding school, a boarding high school that caters more so to people who are involved in the arts. And then basically what Finch tells us in the course of the story is that this is a school that she specifically got into because of the fact that it is in a lot of ways a direct pipeline to the Ivy League schools and places like Juilliard, stuff like that. So she had auditioned in the first chapter as a pianist and basically had then got a scholarship to that school. But in the first chapter, you also find out that she was involved in a very bad car accident with her parents after leaving the school, and something mysterious went on. Essentially, she had said something along the lines of, I'd give anything to be able to go to this school, and something basically heard that and took her literally and then caused her parents' car to drive into this river, and both of her parents unfortunately drowned, and she also did, but then was also brought back to life by something. And then you start to realize that there's something very mysterious going on specifically with Finch. Another perspective though in this story from this young girl called Selena. She is kind of one of the popular girls at this school, and in the first chapter you find out that actually Finch accidentally outed her when basically she and a friend were drinking inside the auditorium that Finch was auditioning in, and when they are caught, Selena accidentally drops the bottle of tequila that was, hiding in her sleeve, and Finch, caught by surprise about the whole thing, accidentally says, "Is that alcohol?" And that's like a big no-no, because for one, they are underage, and 2, the kids at the school are not supposed to have alcohol on campus. It's not something that is allowed, because mostly they are underage. It's not something that they're supposed to have. So Selena has kind of this thing about the fact that, like, obviously she's mad at Finch for this, and the two of them get paired up to do this project together. But before that project is revealed, we find out that Selena, when going to a party in this area called the Tunnels that Finch was also going down to, she and about 3 or 4 of her friends, along with Finch, all see this really weird sacrificial thing happening, and none of them the next morning remember what happened. And they all wake up in different parts of campus. Selena wakes up in front of one of the dormitories on the grass. A couple of her friends wake up in the woods, and Finch wakes up in her bedroom on the floor. And nobody remembers how they got there. Nobody remembers what happened that night before. And it's very obvious that there's something very paranormal happening in this area that could deal with things like the occult. And I am very curious about this. I'm a little worried though, because of the fact that I know Princess is not somebody who likes anything to do with possession. I am worried that without realizing it, we have picked a book that involves possession, because it seems like Finch could very easily become a possessed person because of the fact that the first chapter kind of leads me to believe she could have been inhabited by some kind of demonic entity. So I hope that that's not exactly the case for Princess's sake, but I'm all for it. I just know she's not going to be as big of a fan of it because it's one of the things that she's the most terrified of. So we'll see. But 3 chapters in, I'm already 10% of the way through, and I'm loving it. Like, I need more of this. I need to know what's going on. There's a character that we just met who's kind of like a paranormal, like, junkie. Like, he has like a YouTube channel and an Instagram all dedicated to documenting like ghost hunters-esque kind of thing. And yeah, 58 pages in so far, but I'm going to be stopping that for today. I was wanting to get to my reading goal for that, which was basically around 200 pages of it, but it's fine. I'll get to that tomorrow after I get done with reading Warbreaker, which I will be doing a separate vlog of, because I will be doing the Brandon Sanderson read-along 24-hour-a-thon, basically going on here in the next 15 minutes. But I will be getting through the first 100 and some pages of this, basically. Like, I don't quite remember how much, but that's all I'm going to read of this, you know, really during that vlog, and then, you know, picking back up my Dearest, Darkest and finishing that on Saturday. I'm very excited to start this. I have heard that this is a lot of people's most favorite book in terms of the books that Brandon Sanderson has written, so I'm very happy to get into this. But I have to go get that vlog started because of the fact that I have 15 minutes until the readathon starts, and I want to make sure that I get the opening clip up to that done. I will see all of you guys tomorrow with what I start thinking about with Warbreaker, and then continuing with my Dearest, Darkest. Okay, so I just ended my Brandon Sanderson read-along vlog because I'm not going to have time really to update that again before I end up ending the readathon, because it ends at noon and it's just now after 9, but I still have filming and stuff to do. I just filmed my booktube numbers tag, which will be going out after this vlog does, and I just have a lot of stuff I gotta do. I'm gonna try to listen to the audiobook for Warbreaker while I get stuff done before noon, but I don't know what's gonna be going on because my mom is going to be coming in at some point with my grandma and my sister. Update on the desk. So unfortunately, the desk I did purchase did not end up working. Apparently, it's been bounced around from a couple different people because it's a defective desk. Because the L framing of the desk is supposed to be, you know, in line with each other. The holes for where the shelves are supposed to line up are supposed to be in line, right? Not with this one. The holes in terms of the shelving were actually angled really badly to where nothing would be able to sit on those shelves effectively, and then also would cause the rest of the desk to tilt and cause it to not function properly. Like, it would basically fall apart and I would be out another, you know, good chunk of change, and I did not want that. So I requested a return and I have got it all packaged up. I just have to wait for the mailing label to come in, and I didn't think I was going to end up actually doing anything with it, but then my husband ended up setting up the table we used for my desk again, put it slightly different than how it's been before. With top of that, my husband surprised me because I wasn't expecting him to do this like right away. But I was going to just wait until my return came in and then order another desk. But my husband was so kind, he actually purchased me a new desk, a better desk, and one that was going to have a lot more space on it than the one I had purchased. And I was floored. I did not expect him to do that because I was so frustrated. I came home from dropping off a package and getting dinner for us for date night, and he was very frustrated with putting it together, and we were trying to work on it together. And then when I realized that it just wasn't going to work, that the desk was defective entirely, I was very, very pissed. I was upset. I was obviously like really just annoyed that, you know, I ordered this desk and it's been bounced around from person to person because of the fact it's defective and nobody has like done anything with it, and I was just really mad. And so my husband was just really sweet enough though to just order me a new one, and again, I just wasn't expecting it. Where I'm at with everything is I'm gonna, like I said, continue working on Warbreaker for just a hot minute while I get some more stuff done. I have to film just one TikTok and then I'm done for right now, and then everything else I'll be doing after I get back. But then when I get done with Warbreaker for the day, I'm going to then go back to my Dearest, Darkest, which I'm very excited to go back to that. Like, I'm actually kind of sad that I had to put that down for like the day yesterday because of the fact that I was enjoying it so much. So I'm very excited to go back to that one. But with that being said, I'm gonna get out of here and go get the rest of my stuff I need to get done, and then go help my husband with cleaning up anything that he needs help with, because we're also gonna tidy up the house a little bit before everybody comes over. So I gotta get going, but I will speak to all you guys later when I have a chance to. Hey guys, so it is 5:45 on Sunday and I need to close this vlog, but I need to update you guys on a few things. So first of which being that we officially have mice in our house. That's fucking great. We've thought we've had mice for a hot minute, but hadn't really seen too much activity in the last couple of weeks, and yesterday we found not one, but possibly two, and possibly more than that. So we found a few places where they tend to migrate. They definitely have been hiding under one of our couches, and we've then found out that that couch that had a trundle bed in it had mold on the bottom of it, so that is now in the garage to then take to a dumpster at a later point in time. We also found that they like to live in our bedroom closet because of the fact that there is a crawl space that our bedroom closet has an access door to. So we think they may have come through there. We also found that they like to be in the kitchen just a tiny bit, more so behind our washer and dryer, but in the kitchen nonetheless. And so then we had to, all day today, we cleaned the entire kitchen, cleaned out everything we don't need anymore, and then also have gone through currently 4 rounds of dishes in our dishwasher, and we still have a little bit left to do tonight before we go to bed. So it's been a very long day. And then also we had a couple friends come over to help us with moving some stuff so that we could, you know, get our couch out to the garage, and they went upstairs because the mice particularly like to be in my library. And why is that? Because I have food and I have herbs up there for my offerings and for my spells. So guess who has to get rid of all of her herbs now because it attracts mice? I don't know. My guess is that the mice have been here and we have not seen them, had not noticed them, or at the very least, they came here and because I have my herbs here, have really gotten to like them. So I need to get rid of all my herbs, which fucking sucks because that is what I do a lot of my practice with, but it is what needs to be done. And maybe it is a sign for me to move on to something different in terms of my practice, in terms of what kind of magic I tend to do. So that's a great way to celebrate Witch-a-thon, isn't it? Is to have to completely gut out your entire practice stuff. But my husband and I basically had found a mouse hole near where my altar is, where all my stuff is. And so we are going to have to get that cleaned out once we can find some mice that have gotten the traps we have and the poison that we also have placed around the house for them. And I know this sounds weird because yes, I had rats, but mice are a different game. These mice are not domesticated. They are very likely carrying whatever kinds of diseases and they need to go. I would much prefer that we didn't use things like traps and have to then see these dead mice and that stuff, but my husband's the one that's gonna have to deal with that because I don't want to see a dead mouse. It's been what we've been dealing with. So that happened last night. It was a very long night. We were up till 1 in the morning trying to get stuff squared away, figured out what our game plan was for today. This morning I went and got some mouse traps and we cleaned the entire kitchen. My friends came over and helped Robert with going up through the library and checking the perimeter because we were worried that there were going to be more holes upstairs. And thankfully there is only the one hole, but they did leave a lot of droppings everywhere, including on my bookshelves. So one of my projects going forward in this next week is going to be going upstairs and cleaning off the bookshelves, taking the knickknacks down and basically wiping down everything, and also probably getting rid of my herbs. And it sucks because I had just got the ability to use one of the dressers that we had in our bedroom that we had replaced with the dresser my mom dropped off yesterday, because I was going to use that old dresser to house the herbs so that Oscar couldn't get into them or other things. And now I just need to completely get rid of it. I'm going to use that dresser though for my main altar. I'm going to basically transfer everything to that to use as a main altar space and house some of my things in there so that they're a little bit more safe. But I'm very not okay with all the fact that I have to go up and do all that work because I had no idea we had mice for the longest time. So it is what it is. But main thing is that especially in that room, I cannot have food in there of any kind. For some reason, they didn't touch anything of Robert. We think it's mostly because like I had more accessible food for them in my library that they could get into a lot easier than they could if there was anything in Robert's space that they could have got into, because none of his stuff was touched. Everything that was touched upstairs was in my room. So yeah, I think starting tomorrow I'm going to be going up there and deep cleaning a lot of that, because we basically did a nice deep clean of the kitchen, but we're gonna have to start going back to work tomorrow and everything. So And Robert really needed today to just check the perimeter of the library, and everything seems to be fine there. So pretty much the only thing we need to do from there is wait on when the mice start getting into the stuff that we want them to get into. Oscar, what'd you knock over? Something, I don't know. But yeah, that's been the journey for the last couple of days, so I haven't really done much reading at all, and it kind of sucks, but I think I'm going to do a little bit tonight once I can get my videos and stuff done, because I have to just finish out this vlog and edit this clip and end it, and then I have to get these and the other 2 videos out. I have to edit my TikTok for this week, and then I finally have to edit my podcast. So I'm like 75% done, which is great. But I think I'm going to end it there. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hopefully next week will go a lot better, because going into this weekend was not very great. And looking back through some of the footage from this past week, going through and editing, it was not a great week for me. I was not feeling my best. So hopefully this week is a new, better week, and we'll see some positive things. Because the first thing is tomorrow, the desk that Robert got for me to replace the one that I had bought that did not work is going to be here. So hopefully starting next week, we will have a new desk. So that'll be nice. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be, I would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys.